Hello there. Welcome to the second video of this series I will be making about Joaquín Rodrigo and Victoria Cam's his wife, life and work. And I am now in a very interesting part of their Madrid home. This is the library where they kept most of their books. And what many people don't know is that Joaquín Rodrigo was a very keen reader. But how did he do it? He was blind, and all these books are not written in Braille. Well, he needed someone to read those books or anything else to him. For most of his life, that was Victoria Camhi, who read the newspaper to him every morning, many other books or anything that Rodrigo was interested in. But what a lot of people don't know is that Rodrigo had, at the beginning of his life or career, a guide, a friend also, who was called Rafael Ibáñez. And this is a very mysterious figure because we don't know anything about him after Rodrigo and Victoria Camhi married. We even don't have a complete picture of him. We have kind of a blurry half picture of his face, but this figure vanished forever. So let me read some excerpts where I will be talking about Joaquín Rodrigo's relationship with literature, about his beginnings, and also about how he started loving music and how everything came to be. So let me start. I hope you like it. When he finished his studies at the convent school, Vicente Rodrigo decided that his son was too old to be going around hand in hand with a nursemaid. Since, in any case, he needed a guide, he thought that male company would be more secure. He thought that male company was more appropriate, and perhaps it would help him to forget about his stupid fixation with studying music. At the time, there was a reliable young worker in his warehouse. Don Vicente chose him because he was trustworthy, and although he had scant formal education, he was polite, respectful, and a keen reader. This was a momentous and a wise decision, although he would only partially achieve the results he hoped for, because Rafael Ibáñez, the young man in question, who was 10 years older than Joaquín, never did anything to oppose the development of his taste for music. On the contrary, this interesting man played an extraordinarily important role in the composer's youth, only to vanish shortly after his marriage, never to appear again. Nothing is known of him. Rafael gave 15 years of his life to looking after his employer's son, accompanying him on all his trips, learning French and even some German, transcribing his music without any knowledge of solfège, better than the professional copyists in Rodrigo's own words, sharing with the maestro the endless difficulties they had to deal with when they arrived in Paris in 1928, with almost no acquaintances in the city and not being able to speak the language, writing almost all his letters, including some love letters to his fiancée Victoria, and accompanying him to appointments and meetings without separating from him during the more than 5 years of their stay in Paris. A simple man, of lively intelligence, his affection for Joaquín Rodrigo went well beyond the call of duty. Rafael Ibáñez was much more than Rodrigo's guide. He was his companion, his reader, his secretary, and inseparable friend. The blind youth spent hours with him, and Rafael not only read him all kinds of books, but was patient enough to repeat his favorite passages over and over again. It may seem paradoxical, but the young Joaquín Rodrigo was so attracted to fiction, history, poetry, essay, and philosophy that they eclipsed his passion for music. the difficulties he faced in trying to satisfy his yearning for knowledge are among the bad memories of his youth. As for his appreciation of beauty and its forms of expression through sentiments in literature, Joaquín was much more advanced than usual by comparison with other boys of his age, thanks to the hours Rafael spent reading to him, which outnumbered those he spent listening to music. On many occasions throughout his life, Joaquín Rodrigo said that his great passion, the passion of my youth, was literature. It is possible that he was exaggerating, but even so, this is understandable in someone of creative capacity and restless spirit. Was this his frustration? It is more likely that he recognized the impossibility, which is something that all sensitive minds whose curiosity impels them to embrace the entire spectrum of their cravings must grapple with. Joaquín spoke of literature as he spoke of painting. It was beyond his reach. He settled for music not for any particular reason, but simply because he had come to a time in his life when he had to choose. His realism obliged him to say on one occasion, when referring to his blindness, "For that very reason, perhaps, I became a musician. What else could I have been?" If literature and music vied for his love, there can be no doubt as to the winner. Even so, the young Joaquín went ahead with his literary education, and Rafael Ibáñez kept reading everything he requested. Not only did he read to him, but he walked around with him, patiently describing things, streets, landscapes, and people. He discussed with him the subjects they studied, recited poems that he knew by heart, told him stories about his village, and talked about animals and plants. Rafael had the innate refinement that graces some people who are unschooled or who come from humble families, and that surprises others who, having had better chances of acquiring an education, remain fixed in mediocrity. If one bears in mind that Rafael was an employee, or to use the language of the day, a servant, and Joaquín was his employer's son, the devotion and affection that Rafael showed for him bore no relation with what he was paid for the job. I'm ending the excerpt. I think it's interesting to have this longer excerpt that goes through the history. There is no record of who Joaquín's childhood piano teachers were, but they must have been very good. Or maybe there was only one. There is no question that, as an adolescent, Rodrigo spent many hours honoring his skills at the pianola at home. But it is still surprising that he came to be such a good pianist at such an early age, and one must surmise that he was largely self-taught. Joaquín Rodrigo studied harmony and composition with the highly respected Francisco Antich, whom López Chavarri would describe as an extraordinary teacher, a great educationalist who, far from trying to mold the character of his students, encouraged the development of their musical personalities. Rodrigo often said that it was listening to Verdi that stimulated his interest in composition. It is difficult to know, however, the precise moment at which something as significant as a vocation was awakened in the future artist, especially when he was a child. His memory of Verdi's Rigoletto, which featured in his reminiscences as the trigger of his vocation, must have been only one of many factors that played a part in influencing his decision to devote himself full-time to music. Who knows? What is not in question is that at the age of 15, Joaquín Rodrigo, thanks to his mother's support and his family's economic standing, took a definitive step in his life, and luck was with him. It was a kind of luck that only appears when the person who needs it remains steadfastly on the path he or she must take in order to find it. That's the end for today. I will be finishing the video now, but bear with me and we'll come back with a third video. Thank you very much for listening.